It's 1347. You're a foot soldier in a French army, and the English line is 40 yards away. The man beside you gets pushed to the front. You don't. Why? That decision, who stands in the killing zone and who doesn't, wasn't random. It was calculated. Today we're breaking down exactly how medieval commanders decided who fought in the front ranks and who survived in the rear. Medieval armies didn't just show up as one giant crowd. They were carefully split into 3 big divisions, often called battles or wards. First came the vanguard, the tip of the spear that slammed into the enemy first. Behind it sat the main battle, the massive heart of the army, where the real grinding fight usually happened. And bringing up the rear was the rear guard, acting as reserves, flank protection, and the final safety net if things went wrong. This layout gave commanders control. They could feed fresh troops forward when needed, or pull back if the line started to buckle. But the real art was figuring out exactly which soldiers belonged in each spot. That choice could decide whether an army held firm or collapsed in panic. So what guided those decisions? Commanders, usually kings, dukes, or experienced lords, balanced 3 key elements every time. First, social rank and the hunger for honour played a huge role. In the Middle Ages, fighting at the front wasn't just dangerous, it was the ultimate status symbol. Knights and highborn nobles actively competed for those forward positions because success there brought fame, new lands, royal favour, and stories they could tell for generations. Chivalry demanded it. You can almost hear the arguments in the war councils. My lord, I must lead the charge. My family's honour depends on it. At big battles, senior French commanders once elbowed their way into the vanguard spots, even if it left their own less experienced troops scattered and leaderless further back. Second, commanders looked hard at equipment and experience. Heavily armoured men-at-arms and battle-hardened knights went straight to the front lines of each division. Their plate and mail could actually absorb the first shock of impact, letting them hold the line longer. On the flip side, lightly equipped peasant levies, farmers pulled from their fields with whatever weapons they could grab, usually ended up in the middle or rear ranks. They were less likely to break under pressure there, and commanders wanted to keep them alive long enough to push forward and replace fallen comrades. Third, pure tactics came into play. Missile troops like longbowmen or crossbowmen almost never stood right at the very front. They'd be cut down before they could loose a single shot. Instead, smart leaders tucked them safely behind the infantry wall or out on the wings so their arrows could fly over their own men's heads. Cavalry, often held in reserve on the flanks or deep in the rear, ready for that decisive moment when they could sweep around and smash the enemy's side. Even within the vanguard, you might start with a few light skirmishers to test the waters, but the real heavy hitters, the dismounted knights with poleaxes and swords, followed close behind, ready to deliver the knockout blow. Let's see how this played out in real fights that changed history. Take the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. The French side was bursting with confidence, and their nobles practically fought each other for the right to stand in the vanguard and main battle. The result? Their finest fighters packed the forward lines exactly where the English longbowmen and the thick mud would do the most damage. Many of those proud lords sank to their knees and never rose again. Meanwhile, the French peasant troops lingered way back in the rear. Some never even made it into the melee before their army broke. English commanders took a sharper approach that day. They placed reliable men-at-arms right in the centre front, protected by stakes hammered into the ground. Longbowmen stayed safely on the flanks behind those barriers, pouring death into the oncoming French. The rearguard waited patiently, ready to step up and fill any holes or chase down fleeing enemies once the line shattered. You see the same pattern earlier at Crécy in 1346. English King Edward III put his veteran knights and dismounted men-at-arms up front in tight formations. His longbowmen, again on the wings and slightly rearward, unleashed those famous arrow storms that shredded the French cavalry charges before they could close. The rear divisions stayed fresh, plugging gaps when the first waves tired. Or look at Poitiers in 1356. The Black Prince of England used his rearguard cleverly, holding them back until the French assault faltered, then committing them at just the right moment to turn defence into a crushing counterattack. Time after time, the commanders who read their troops' strengths best walked away victorious. The ones who let ego and status override good sense paid the price on the field. Now imagine actually standing there. In the front ranks, usually only 3 to 5 men deep, you felt every single impact. The first 2 rows did the real work, swinging weapons in a brutal shoving match that could last minutes or hours. No neat rotations or coffee breaks. When a man fell, the guy right behind stepped forward into the blood and chaos. It was raw survival, locked shields, the smell of sweat and fear, the constant roar of steel on steel. Further back, things felt different. You still pushed forward to keep the line solid, but you had a few precious seconds to breathe. Archers could focus on their shots instead of dodging blades. Reserves scanned the field, ready to rush in where needed or steady the line if panic started spreading. And if the worst happened and your side broke, the rear gave you the slightest chance to slip away rather than being trampled in the rout. It wasn't glamorous back there, but plenty of soldiers quietly preferred it to the frontline meat grinder. This wasn't some perfect, fair setup, far from it. It favoured the wealthy and well-connected. But it served a purpose. Commanders kept their best fighters where they could make the biggest difference, while protecting the less trained men just enough to hold the whole formation together. Glory motivated the nobles to fight harder. Practical tactics kept the army from dissolving into a disorganised mob. And because battles in this era were often decided in a single sharp clash rather than long drawn-out campaigns, getting those lines right could mean the difference between total victory and utter disaster. Over the centuries, from the Norman conquest at Hastings right through the Wars of the Roses, this basic approach evolved but never really vanished. Even as gunpowder started appearing, the ideas of honour, equipment and smart placement still shaped how armies lined up. If you enjoyed this deep dive into medieval tactics, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the past. Which battle or commander should we explore next? Let me know down in the comments. I read everyone. Thanks so much for joining me on the field today. Stay curious and I'll see you in the next one.